I see the live.
You see it already? All right, let
I
me
can,
go.
yes.
I'll go in and tag you. Okay, let's see here. What a day. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Here, let me tag you so it'll be on your page. Okay.
No, I'm
Ooh,
not quite sure if I have enabled this for non-friends.
uh, no, it's, well, you might have to, it tagged. It tagged, but you might have to go in and,
Yes, I would
yeah, it
check
did.
it
It tagged.
right away.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, boom, boom. Here we go. All right, first show of the day. We got 3 planned today. One might cancel, so I'm not sure if she's going to show up, but if she doesn't show up, then I'm going to do my own show. I'm just going to do a solo show. But yeah, she was a bit under the weather. Okay, so I got this going. I think we're okay now. Here we go. It's hot in Mexico. Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a new friend in the house. She does know quite a few people. She knows Rick Jewers. Yeah. We won't hold that against her though. She knows Sasha Grace, Stella Fairbarn, Femke. She's met a few people. She's in Austria. And I forgot how this happened, but you reached out to me, I think, and said, let's talk about something. Uh,
Yes.
and I said, yeah, whatever you want to talk about. I'm always open for a discussion, from the conscious conversation, soul to soul, where we don't just look at everything through the human eyes, because this world is an illusion. You know what I mean? But it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence.
Thank you for having me.
Hmm. And you've traveled around a bit. Is that how you met Rick, or did he go through Austria?
I traveled around a bit. Yes, I did. Yes, I met Rick in Austria and Femke as well. We did activations together, but
Hmm.
I was also in Romania once a
Oh yeah,
time to do that activation. Um,
Romania is a powerful place, from what I understand. It's
it's beautiful, but it's a long drive.
it's a long drive. I'm from Texas, so long drives are part of life over here.
12 hours.
Oh, easy. I've driven yeah, from you can drive like 12 to 15 hours crossing Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's similar to Australia, right?
Oh, well, I think Australia's much bigger. Much bigger. Australia's like as big as the United States. But
I own parts of it.
yeah. So yeah, what's going on? Let me ask you the famous question on the show. Have you always been this weird or did you have a wake up experience?
Wake up experience. Yes, I did have. I think it was 2011 or 12, when I woke up and I thought I'm completely nuts, I guess. When you started to see things, glitches in the matrix, when you're dreaming and wake up in dreams, when you're able to see future, when you started to hear things and you start to experience what it means, with the universal laws, and the projection and the attraction. So yes, I woke up back then, but I was not on the spiritual path back then. So I would say it was not that, everyone experienced it differently, but honestly, the wake up is, I think, one of the most intense thing. But after waking up, you have so many dark nights of the soul. So but you also get used to it, right? At a specific point, because the more you ascend, the more you merge with your higher aspect, the more you have to let go, but also, all the identities that you have created, right? So it's also some kind of a dying experience as well. Yes.
That's a good point. I think there's a lot of people in these communities, what we call the light workers, starseed communities, that are struggling to let go of their identities. Because it's like we had to, not had to, but most of the time when people wake up, there's certain faces of the universe or voices of the universe that speak to them. There's also past life memories, future life memories, things like that. We get purposes, abilities, downloads, and I feel like that they served us very well, but I feel like we're on the other side now this year. And everywhere I look, I see people in isolation. I see people disconnecting relationships, closing businesses, moving, and ultimately facing the fact that we're not an exception, and every identity really isn't to us. It's not us. So either it's gotten to the point now where it's almost like an all or nothing proposition. You either stay over here, because if you're over here, even one identity, one role, one label you can't let go of, you're over here, period. Or you make the jump, and nobody knows what that jump is. I personally
No.
think I personally think that anything and everything that we give up, uh, we get it back a million times. But you got to let it go, you know, and
Yes.
that's a hard
Yes.
thing to do. It's a hard thing.
Yes.
It's 11:11.
But yes, I do know what you're speaking about, but there are often times and phases, where you are put back into a cocoon mode, right?
Mhm.
Where you have to sit with yourself and, transmute things, right? But nowadays, I think a couple of weeks ago, I had such an interesting experience, because from your consciousness, you do know how everything works, right? But, I was sitting there and I was like, oh, and I saw myself, in a higher dimension with my crystalline body in one with an androgynous vessel, right? And I was sitting there and I just saw myself, projecting such a small part of my consciousness into this vessel, right? Which is quite funny. But, still, we are here right now, in this vessel, and we have some specific agreements and missions that we have signed up, and everyone has a different role right now to play or to play out, specific in this times, I would say.
Well, yeah. I mean, or I'll just tell you what my soul told me. My soul told me that from December 21st, 2012 to December 21st, 2024, um, the solstices, right? From that Mayan calendar thing in 2012 to the one that happened last December, that we achieved everything that we came to do, and we did it in a distortion. We didn't give ourselves enough credit, or we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we've done in the distortion. And but it will come to us. Those memories and that knowing will come to us. We will see the energetic force of what we achieved in those years. And for some people, it's longer than that. I get that, but and that we're on the other side now. Now the current is with us. We're not moving against distortion. We're not moving against resistance. We're actually we're going with the flow. Um, and so that's changed everything. I've watched people for the first 5 months, including myself this year doing the show, people saying, something's going on, something's different. I just can't figure it out. But around June, people started to put the pieces together, which is one of the advantages of doing this show, because it's like you're just talking to the same person over and over. They just shapeshift into somebody else each episode, because we're all kind of converging our perception. But that's not to take away, like my purpose is Soulogy, but Soulogy was deconstructed and went down to nothing. And I was guided to do that. And then I was guided to come back, but it's in a different way. So it's a strange. for me, it's a strange thing to consider because when the most challenging thing is getting used to our natural nature and the natural nature of the universal, we're so used to being in a dualistic polarity that, you know, so I guess my final point is we have to question everything. And if there's
Yes.
anything we haven't let go of, I can promise we're going to have to. And,
Yes.
and that's belief systems, that's prejudices, biases, causes, purposes, roles, labels, you name it. Girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, children. We're souls. Every one of us is a soul.
I mean, yes, everyone needs to go through a purification process for sure. Otherwise, we would not make it because, everything that has existed here, all the distortion and lower frequencies and all the horrific thing will not exist, in the higher realms, in the new earth, I would say. But yes, to come back to that topic, I mean, a lot of ones are on the other side, are holding space, are in a higher frequency, but there are also ones, how do I put it, that are not there yet. So, honestly, I did a lot of inner work. I didn't run away from my inner work, and I was thinking, oh, well, yes, I'm watching, the Ascension, and it will be done, something around December, right? I will hold space, I will not interfere in anything, I respect everyone's path. But the thing is, it didn't work out that way for several reasons. The thing is, what happened to that is also the reason why I reached out to you, because I wanted also to share my story, which recently happened to but not only with but with other parents, grandparents, and children. So, can I continue, or did you want to ask something?
No, I'm just getting comfortable. I'm all ears.
All right, all
Here to
right,
listen. I'm here to listen to you. Go ahead. No, just keep going.
all right. So, just give me a second. I need to get a short version because it's so extensive and I don't want to lost into details. So to make it short, a lot of people already know about my story, but I have two wonderful children. One is 8 years old. Her name is Aurora, and Akua, he's 5 years old right now. They are very highly gifted children. Very advanced soul and very loving. And as the most of us are doing this, I had a home birth. I didn't vaccinated them. I didn't give them medicaments. I did my best to work on myself. To give them the best space. To fully discover who they are. But mostly, every one of us has sometimes a relationship where you get into it, where you can look at specific parts of yourself, which is triggering a lot of stuff up to the surface to get healed, where you then make that choice, to change, but not only for you, but also for your child, which I also did. And, as this has went, the separation was quite, I would say it was calm at the beginning. But the thing is, it started to get much worse, because
What
most of the
what
people,
was the excuse me, what was the separation? Were you separated from your children?
no, I was separated. I separated myself from the ex back then. So what happened was,
Oh,
I,
you separated yourself from expectations? Is that what you're
no, I
saying?
separated myself from my ex partner.
Oh,
So
I'm
from
sorry.
the
I
partner
got you.
I
Okay,
was
I
with.
got you. Yeah, okay. I got you. I got you. And how long ago was
Yes,
that? How long ago was that?
I think that is
2, 3 years ago or something?
3 years or something.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
it's mostly if someone starts to realize or go more into self-love, right? And when you realize that how you were treated is not the right way, but also not the right way for your children, right? So I'm just touching a little bit of it because it's the same story and pattern which goes around, right? When some comes into the realization and starts to go into self-love, go into healing, go into a safer place, right? But the thing is, what happened is, because of how the system is built, um, there are a lot of other people coming in, like youth welfare, court system, lawyers. But also, during this time, I also realized that I didn't saw, or I lied to myself who he was. So I was put under a lot of coercion and pressure and institutional violence. I just realized that also my relationship itself back then was um, very quite intense, with brainwashing, gaslighting, all those kind of things, right? And I just realized that my nervous system also needed to heal in that afterwards, right? But I didn't have the full time for it, because right afterwards I had to go into court. I had to had some kind of battles inside. And I didn't know back then how a court
Mm.
is, right? So I was just complying and I was just happy, just to get it done. I had my lawyer back then and everything. But to make it short, after a while, the more you're awake, the more you realize that things are not right. That that things like, they would never, like the youth welfare, they are never taking really care of the children. They never respect what the children needs, right? But also, if you are going into a court, they would never help you with a decision, So the thing is, I cannot go so deep inside. But the thing is, what I want to say is, I started just, to step up and, not to let that happen. Like, for example, I saw police coming to my place, yelling at me. And I was like, all right, what's going on? I opened the door, why are you yelling at me? And he was like, yes, you don't give your children food, your ex wants to have the children, and so on, and so on, and so on. I don't want to go deeper into it, but, it was, you felt like in a complete different movie. Like you're inside, everything turns against you. You didn't do anything wrong. You just protect your children. You just want to have a safe space for them, but you get constantly attacked from all sides, right?
Let me let
So
me let me interject. I think it'll make it easier for you. Okay,
yes.
just so you understand. All right. Um, upon my awakening, I went into the court system. I went in. I was on probation for 2 years. I was in jail for numerous times for as much as 34 days. I lost my children. My family attacked me. Um, I went homeless for 2 years by my own choice. Okay. I was in and out of the court system the whole time. Once I got my two babies back, my two youngest, they were 11 and 12. I was visited all the time by Child Protect Services, by Adult Protective Services, by the police. Uh, and, I learned something. Okay. The whole fucking thing is an illusion. And it can either grab you by the ass or you can grab yourself by your soul. And my soul told me something over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. Um, it doesn't matter if it's a circumstance that you find yourself in or a consequence of your actions that you're conscious of or unconscious of. Doesn't matter. There is no fairness. There is no, you know, deserve or not deserve. And this is the pill that we swallow. And when the children are involved, it does make it difficult. And it took me living with those two girls for 2 years and 8 months because we didn't make it. They went to live with one of my daughters, and then they both ended up, my oldest daughter, and then they didn't last very long there, and they're both beautiful, courageous young ladies now, but they've been on their own one since 14 or 15 and one since she was really 16 or 17. So, they taught me a lot when I lived with them for 2 years and 8 months. They taught me, about and there's a reason I'm telling you this. I'm not trying to tell you my story. I'm just trying to
All fine.
offer the mirror of the reflection that I'm seeing myself in you. And I just feel like that I need to transmit this to you. But, you know, um, they taught me the power of the feminine. They taught me how to relate to the feminine because I'm living with the both of them as they're hitting puberty, you know, and it was like a force of nature. And I learned to accept them and allow them. And part of that was to let them go. Okay. And the other thing I learned is their souls. Their souls. People can talk about free will all they want. Okay. They can talk about freedom, which is a joke on this earth, from the proper perspective. Uh, we chose to come here. We chose the template of our life, whether we are, a bad person or a good person, by the looks of things. We chose a particular path for the growth of the soul and the growth and expansion of the universal, and so do these children. And I can't even imagine being with, what'd you say, a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old that are highly intelligent, tapped in, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You are, you know. So their frequency alone must be a huge part of your. But I just want you to know that, yeah, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it. I've watched 52 people go before a judge before my pretrial hearing, and it was horrible. If you don't have money, you're screwed. You know, I agreed to. I was charged with a misdemeanor, class B misdemeanor, right? And in order to get out after 34 days, I agreed to a felony. Okay. Because I was worried about my children. So there are so many stories I could tell you that I saw in this courtroom. It was horrible, and in jail. So, and I've also been visited when incarcerated by um, a mentor that passed, and by the consciousness of Jesus or Yeshua. And it was explained to me that these systems are being converted. He showed me while I'm in this system with 400 people in a big room. Uh, I could go on, but my point is, it's over. It's over. It's come into our awareness. We're doing what needs to be done. That's what you exemplify. You're changing from the inside, and that's how the outside changes. But it's not by the old ways. It's not by movements and parades and marches and boycotts. It's the fucking transformation of the soul, you know? And I'll just leave you. I didn't know we were going to get into this because I guess it was something I needed to get off my chest too. I've never actually talked about this in
Wow.
4,000 shows, right?
Interesting.
I mean, I've talked a little bit, but I've never talked about the depths of this, what I
I
feel and see in you as my reflection. It's fucking a lot. It's a lot.
thought,
And,
honestly, from my experience, it must come to the surface right now because, I literally feel you. And
yeah,
yes, I know what you're going through.
oh,
And, it was, when a children was taken a couple of months ago, I was shattered. My whole consciousness was shattered,
did they
right?
take the children from you?
Yes, 3 months ago.
Do you have them back?
No, they put them into a crisis intervention center, which is similar to the Unification Center in America, where they isolate, indoctrinate, and do psychological experiments on them, right? So they used police force against me, so I could not got near to it. And you feel, the emotions are still coming up because it's quite intense. But Um, so during these 3 months, they started to put the children back to the abusive parent, right, and erase me fully from their life, right, and they took them away with criminal agents, and with police. The reason why that happened also, because we stood up, we said, you are not caring about what a child wants. You don't listen to their voice, right? And I was constantly, taking care of them. I never saw them as different than
So let me
because
let me understand because I was a little confused here, but I think I got it now. So
yes,
basically, I'm just going to put it in my terms, and I see everyone as a soul. So just my,
yes,
but so basically, you're married, you're with somebody who's, and it's not working, and you got to separate. And this person is accusing you of not taking care of your children, and because you didn't get them vaccinated and you had a home birth, the state probably agrees with them, and so they take the children away unfairly and unjustly, right? They took the children away from you, and now they're going to give them back to the other parent. Is that what's happening?
um, not yet. I just give me a second, because you said so much, partly, there
Yeah,
was a long history with the ex, I tried to make it with him, but the thing is, as you already said, the whole court system
right.
is corrupted. It's criminal.
Yeah,
It's torture. It's very dense. It's inversion. Yes, it is. And also all the documents what you're reading, right? So the thing is, they fabricated stories saying, I'm psychologically sick. I What also did they said? They came into the school, they were questioning my children. The children started, to have changes in their behavior. They get stressed and traumatized. They didn't want
yeah.
to go there. I took them out. Then they came back and said, oh, you took them out, you cannot do that. This was a reason, and the third reason was because they didn't saw their father. But the thing is, I never separated them from the father. I asked them, they didn't want it to, right? And I was respecting what they want, but also because he didn't really take care of them. So what I want to touch on is that this is a specific systemic pattern that is occurring worldwide, meaning like mostly the children are taking from the one who is very caring and nurturing and taking care of the child, and given to the other parent who is the abusive one. So yes, I do understand you. I worked on a lot of cases during this time, and yes, back then 2 years ago, I myself, I said, I don't want to go into the court anymore, because it's the worst. You will not never get, no one is listening to you. You can bring a lot of evidence inside, but none of them listen to it. They don't care, right? But also, the
Let
thing
me ask you
is,
this. Did you, okay, because I know how it works in America, and I think most of the places in the world, and that is if you have the money, you can win anything. You know what I mean? It's not about, who's right and who's wrong. It's about who's got the most money. Well, and I would say this, if you don't have money and you don't have the money to get a very good lawyer, you're screwed. And the problem is, in America, 1/3 of the cases of people that are incarcerated have to do with family issues. Most of the men, I was in a cell with 24 other men that were considered high risk. Okay. This was rapists, people accused of murder. Uh, I would say that 60 or 70% of them were in jail in that at that time on the charge of domestic abuse. Now, whether all of those cases were actually true, I don't know. Some of those cases, including my own, was not true. Okay, so it's everybody. It's men, it's women, it's children, it's fucking everybody. And it's part of this bullshit. And I don't want to condemn or damn the world because we created this, you know. But it's here to teach us something. And I guess it's to teach us the depths of the darkness so that we can rise as many degrees as we've dropped. I really don't know, but it pisses me off. I didn't even know this was going to happen. And I apologize. I apologize, but I feel you. And it takes me back. You know, I sat there and watched 52 cases of they actually pulled me in court. Get this, right? I have 5 kids, biological kids. And then I had one daughter that my wife, her mother passed, that I took in. She had a father that did not pay child support. And they called me in court and demanded that I pay child support to the daughter that wasn't mine that lives in my house. And they told me that if you don't pay by the end of the year, we're going to put you in jail for 6 months. Now the child's living with me, and yet they made a mistake and they're asking me to pay child support to the mother that's living with me for a child that's not even mine. And then not only that, but if you don't have money, and I didn't have money, I was on welfare. I went from making, you know, 6 figures for many years and then to welfare. It's a long story there too, but my point is this. I'm getting billed $2,500 a month for child support, and I'm not even making 20,000 a year. So they've ruined so many families. This was part of the strategy. The strategy was to break up the families, but I guess, when you're in it like you are, it's I said many times in those early years, I have proved that you can lose your fucking mind and find your soul at the same time. And don't ever let anyone tell you any different than that. And I feel for you. I feel for you, and it pisses me off, but I also know that we're souls and we can't let this shit get us down because that's not what we're here for. But I feel your emotion, your power, your strength, your rising, and you got to do what you got to do. And I don't, and you're laughing, so that's a beautiful thing. And I just want to say, I didn't know you were going to trigger me, but but I feel for you, and you're brave and you're courageous. You're a badass, Um, I don't know if I'm helping you, but I think you helped me or something. I don't even know where that came from, but I've never, like I said, I've never talked about these things that
And
in
I'm
that.
so grateful you did, because honestly, when I went through this, you cannot, the thing is, everyone who goes through this, it's so quite intense, right? I
Yeah.
remember, the 3.5 first month, it was so quite intense. You were bombarded with so much nefarious and dark energy.
Yeah.
It's messing up with your mind, it's messing with your energetic field, it's messing with your physical vessel as well. I remember I broke down every 3 days, and I had to gather myself up back again and again, recharging, still holding on to the hope, and still trusting, because I know what you mean. With, sometimes at a specific point we need to let go. And I agree, it belongs to the process. But the thing is, my divine instruction and my divine mission is to not let go, because the easiest way is to let go, and you just live your life. But it's not tied in with my mission right now. I
No, you're
know.
not. You shouldn't like that. I'm not saying that.
Yes.
You mean of
Yeah.
your children? Of your children? Is that what you mean? Is that what you?
Yes.
No, I don't. I'm not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, energetically speaking, whatever holds you to whatever holds you, glues you down to the old grid. It
Yes.
doesn't matter what it is, and I don't feel that you're stuck on the grid at all. I feel like this is This is it's like everything. It's not just the physical part. Like I know what it's like. You know, you get a your kid the phone call and they're like, hey, they're over here talking to me at the school, or they show up with a cop and they want to come look in your refrigerator and they want to look in their rooms. It's intrusive. And it's all designed to create that, like you said about your nervous system. It's all designed you know, frazzle you and the kid and the separation and the division. I mean, this was all planned. Just the fact that it's within our awareness, just the fact that someone like you can speak about it, can still laugh, and can say, I'm aware of what's going on and I'm not going to just stand for it. Right. And that's the soul. I mean, and you know, that's incredible. So what are you where do you go from here? What do you are you trying to change it within the system? Are you doing it in the etheric field? Or all of the above?
That is the thing, when this happened, as you know, I already had my divine gifts and abilities back then. So I was fully aware when the children were taken, and I had to go, and I had to go there with my children, knowing that they will take them, right? Um, the thing is, I got the divine instruction, not to go the old way, because the old way is created to trap you inside, to make you suffer, to attack you, and to bring you down. That is what they are trying to do. They want to break. They want to break you. They want to make you crazy,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
right? And I was sitting there, and I looked at Father, and I said, I was like, how, you know, because if you are so far away out of the system, you know, you cannot go back anymore. It's not in alignment, right? It's also, you cannot go back into a job anymore, right? And sitting there 40 hours, you are already out of it, right? I didn't know, it was a complete new path. But the thing is, um, I was always connected with Rick back then. I met him 2 years ago when I started to stood up inside of court, and I said no, right? And they started to humiliate me, laugh about me, attack me, all those kind of things. I went out, I felt like garbage, literally. I didn't know what to do, and I called both of them, and I started to cry. All the shame, the guilt, everything. All the inversion stuff, everything came out of me. And since then, I had a lot of contacts with Rick. We are working also together, with divine GPMS, but I also learned to know about common law, natural law, and the divine laws. So during these 2 years, I had to go so deep into everything, and I just figured out how distorted everything is. The moment you start to read something about laws, it doesn't make any sense. It's not in alignment, right? So the moment you start to read it, you can literally feel the distortion of energy, right? So I also didn't choose, to have a lawyer as well, because they are all in the same club. They are speaking with each other. It doesn't make any sense, right? And I also don't have the money to pay someone, but also it didn't make any sense for, to pay a lawyer, to give away my power and my responsibility to someone, right? No, not at this stage, right? So what I did was, because they were putting me under police surveillance, so I would go to court, to force me to go there. And so what I did was, the first thing I did after the children were taken, I contacted my soul family, and we started an email campaign all over the world. We flooded their office. We flooded different kind of offices there, right? Afterwards, I started, to write out a proclamation, to tell them we are divine sovereign beings. We have declared it. We are fully out of it. I sent it, to all the leaders in Austria, from the president, to other places, right? That was the UCC way, right? I went to the place, to the welfare fair. I could dissolve all their claims, right? I have witnesses with me. I have recorded everything. Normally they must have given me the children back. But, the more I went there, the more evidence I brought up, the more it got ignored. But what I just figured out was, that every time, when I went there, I had for some reason, every time flip something, right? I also had to transmute all those energies, like all those lower kind of energies as well, and expanding my field, staying completely calm, in my clear consciousness, right? And just to show them, I'm not nuts, I'm not aggressive. Whatever you are trying, I'm not giving in, and you are not right? So that was the process. But during this way, we did different kind of steps that brought me um, out of it. We send cease and desist order. We write invoices. All those kind of things, which are based, on common laws and contract laws, which are never taught, in this system because they don't want you to know. They are legit. They are legal and powerful tools. Back 10 years ago, I saw a lot of sovereign groups, but I was not in alignment with it, because I was like, well, I don't need that. But right now, what I'm seeing, a lot of divine ones are, I have to say, they are under attack because, they know who you are. They know who the others are. You are a powerful soul. Meaning, like, if they would traumatize and siphon energy from someone like you, it would generate a lot of their technologies and a lot of their metrics, right?
One human being can run a whole planet. One unconscious siphoned human being could run an entire planet. That's how much power we have. So how did so with all these efforts and the email campaign and the things that you um, proclaimed, cease and desist, uh, what has happened with that? Has any of it, have they just ignored it, or has any of it helped you? I know I can tell already, like, from a soul level, spiritual level, absolutely, it's I can see your purpose. I can see this. It's an expression of the soul. It's you explain it very well, especially the part about going into the system. Like, you go into a courtroom and, I'm like I had a lawyer that, but not for very long, but most of the time I just didn't have a lawyer, period. And you go in there and it rattles you. You can feel I mean, to me, it's darker in a courtroom than it is in a jail cell. You know?
Yes, because they are, when you're looking at it from a higher perspective, courtrooms are used as anchor points,
Yeah.
so they anchor all the lower traumatizing
Yeah.
energetics there, right? But also what they're doing, while you are in court, they are using psychological torture onto you. So they're attacking you until you're not clear enough in your mind, so you cannot give clear answer.
Mm.
But the thing is, I was completely alone inside of the court. I was fully prepared. I was divinely guided and guarded at that time. And, I just flipped everything they throw against me. And, I was truthful, since years, I always tell the truth, because we don't lie anymore. And it was very powerful and truthful. Honestly, I would want this, but the thing is, they broke their own laws, they broke human laws, everything, right? I mean, you asking me if it had changed something, right now, what I can say at the beginning,
I
you
love your
know
laugh.
at the beginning, I felt like I couldn't move, right?
Right.
Every time when I wanted to write something, I felt like, dying, right? I felt that pain in the heart. I felt that shattering. I couldn't have a clear focus, clear mind. I couldn't write anything. It took me hours to write, and I didn't know exactly what happened, right? And, the more we did, the more we created, the more we anchored more of the higher divine ways, and the more I didn't suppress my own light and stand in my divine authority and
Yeah.
truth, the more it started, to open up more pathways. The energetic starts to harmonize. It felt every time like we break through something. Every time when I was sitting in front of the laptop and I was like, oh, at the beginning I was like, I don't know if I could send this to those ones, they would think I'm nuts, right? And I was like, I don't know, in the name of God, and I was like, I trust in God, but the thing is, I never did this. But the thing is, you just surrender and you trust and you do. So every
Right.
time before I did, you can feel the energetic starting to rise, right? Like something try to stop you, then you do it, and then you sit back, and then you can literally feel them opening the emails, right? So at first they started to suppress me. They also filed, different kind of reports, like I'm having an anti-movement, anti-statement movement as well. They put me on a surveillance. They listened about my phone, all my messages, everything. But we always sent stuff back. Every time when he started to attack me, right? Rick and I, we went through a lot of those stuff. And honestly, not, we didn't want it to do it because it's the most yuckiest thing, to write those documents and to read those things, right? But every time when we sent back, really lawful things, based on divine laws and also common laws, they started to stop. So right now, I don't know. I was there
They
two
they
times
started
before.
they started to stop what? They stopped harassing you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now, yes, they are
Yeah.
some kind of, I feel they are some kind in a checkmate situation. The thing is, my case, because I was divinely prepared for everything, is created, for a precedented case, for other mothers and
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And, if I would win, this will create a very huge effect on it, right? So I have also a lot of different kind of conscious, different kind of people coming in. So different kind of consciousness, which I was guided to take them in, to show them, what,
Who
because
who who were these people? People that you met, other mothers?
other mothers or, people who know me from young ages, but are not on the spiritual path, right?
Right.
Who didn't, who are not in alignment with spirituality, right? So, because every time when I went to specific appointments, I always took someone with me as a
Right.
witness, right?
Right. Right.
And, all of them, I said, like, you know what, I will record this. And they were like, you cannot do that, And I said, why? And they were like, that is not allowed. And I said, it is allowed and you can do that. And I went in and I did this. And afterwards, when they came out with me and they were like, they were completely shocked. Everyone was shocked. It's just like, they just realized that everything they believed is a lie. They thought,
Yeah.
the welfare would believe in them. So it's also a kind of interesting, effect that has on those kind of people, right?
Yeah.
I also have someone with me who lives close to me, and he is very well known in common laws as well, and he had worked, as a civil servant in Germany for a long, long while, and he had to flee. And he told me that, in those governments, they tell you um, you don't need to obey the law, and if someone, um,
I mean,
you know,
I
discover
mean,
you, just made up a story, right?
I mean, I mean, this is what I mean, I hear you. You opened something up in me that I guess I didn't deal with back then. But, I had a girl come in here, 39 years old from Poland, 2, 3 days ago. She went to New Zealand to do grid work, flies into Hawaii. They turn her visa down and they put her in prison for 3 days. You know,
Important
she,
work.
they put her in prison in Honolulu. They call it a detainment center, but they do the same thing they do in jail. They strip search you, they cavity search you, and they demoralize you. They yell at you, they scream at you, and treat you like And so this is just a reflection of the whole thing. It's just getting really loud. You know what I mean? It's getting really, really loud. And these, regardless of what kind of success or not that you've had within the system itself, the physical, I'm talking about the physical. We we're souls. We can no longer measure our achievements or our success or whatever you want to call it by the old standards. The universe is watching you. The universe is watching your
Yeah,
children.
they're watching
and
us
and
all.
you are creating new universal code the only way you can. That's why the earth is such a great place, because we're the only place that's ever been universally seeded to the extent that we have. So the only way that new code can be created is by the boots on the ground. The boots on the fucking ground. The ones that are that like if you had just said, well, that's life and it sucks. I guess I'll just go live in a cave, or I'll just maybe I'll see my children when they become adults, or and I'll just give up. There's no code. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe there is code there. Maybe that's what you needed, what that person would have needed to do. But your your approach is, it's so important for us to not have a charge. And there is no way, I don't see you have a charge. You're in this divine neutrality. I can see it in your laugh. I mean, how could you be laughing? I mean, I know what it's you know, like I said with my story, and it was the same situation. It was the same, somebody took the kids that was not okay and ended up dying, right? And then it wasn't just the court system, it was the family. It's the same. This realm is a narcissistic realm,
Yes,
okay?
it is.
Okay, so it's a narcissistic realm and a narcissistic band of frequencies. This is where it frustrates me about people. It says, I'm an empath, I'm an empath, I'm an empath. Well, we're all fucking empaths. Get over it. We're all the same, but we're also narcissists. Every single one of us. Every time we judge somebody, we're not God, okay? But every time we say those people are asleep or we have a charge and we're not in divine neutrality, we are in the field of narcissistic frequency because the whole system is that. Have you ever tried to speak to an individual, or in this case, a court system? The narcissistic realm, the system that it creates, is not rational. How can you be rational with something that's irrational? So what we try to do, how many light workers have come on this show and they've said, I tried to fit in, I tried to be like everybody else, and it fucked you up. It made you be someone you're not, right? So you can't be rational, and then it's irrational to try to fit in that system, or to try to connect with that system or make that system or that person understand. You know, it, it it's a tough one, and you're doing, as they say in Texas, you're doing yeoman's work. I mean, you're doing the heavy lifting. But for me, what I find so inspiring is the fact that you can retain this divine neutrality in the midst of it all. You can still laugh. You can still be in your soul and not allow this creation to take you off your game. You know what I mean? And that's another thing that I learned too on the streets was, and it was a hard pill to swallow. It was a hard pill to swallow when you're a victim and it's very obvious, but there is no victim. So my soul came in and said, you created every bit of this. Well, how did I create every bit of this? All I did was love people and be a good dad and this and that. And it's not like that. We can't judge. We can't judge our souls or anyone else's, really. You know, I could tell you, I have a relative. I don't know if I should say this. So, there's certain people in your life that can't be closer. You know what I mean? Like one step away family, one blood away, right? One of my children was molested by this person. It wouldn't be hard to figure it out. All right. My point is, it took me a while. It took me a while to come to terms with this But I can do that today. I can talk to that person on the phone. I can look him in the eye. I can go for a visit, and I see my soul. I see myself. That to me is what we're here to do. And whether it's a system or a second of circumstances or whatever the case is, you know, that girl that came on here from Poland, it was a huge experience for her. And she said that when she was in there, I mean, she went in and she started crying, and the prisoners were fucking with her and, you know, giving her a hard time. And then she said something really profound. She said, I reach for the aspect of me that could live in this prison for the rest of my life. And she said, from that moment, boom, everything changed. Her frequency changed. Everyone around her changed in their interactions with her. I mean, that's what we're doing here, you know? That's what we're doing here. It's the universe is watching us.
The thing is, the thing is, before I also thought like, how that would be a nice, ascension thing. I was normally more, in the background watching, not interfering, respecting everyone's path until to a specific point I needed to jump in and I needed to take action, and I do know and I do remember everything. And I know that, for, most of us remember how the beings here, the human beings or the souls were suffering in the slavery system because it is a slavery system. You are not free, right? So what are you doing then? You descended here to assist humanity, right? To assist the universal ascension, right? With who you are.
I mean, you see, to me, that's even up for debate.
A West? Are you
To,
okay? All
to
right.
me, to me, I mean, well, what I'm saying is this. I mean, like it's such a complicated thing, right? Now, if you listen to Mateus De Stefano, or you listen to my friend Franco De Nicola, who transitioned, or you listen to Dolores Cannon, ascensions occur all the time. Okay, I think for where we've gotten to now, and this again is a great example. It's the individual, right? It's the individual, and it's the individual growth of that soul, and therefore the growth of the universal. So yes, it covers assisting humanity, but humanity's in Mother Goddess's hands. Nobody's going to get hurt. We're like these trapeze artists that are up on the high wire, and if we fall, we're going to fall into a net. You know, the old saying, God doesn't create junk. This is a system by design. This system hasn't been this distorted until about 12 or 15,000 years ago, when we all decided as a group, because we all have to agree to go and make this inversion occur. And we brought in certain people to do that, you know, but these are the narratives, right? And this is what we're waking up from. And you said, and I said it a while ago too, you said, we don't have freedom here. It's a prison planet. Well, yeah, it is from the perspective of a human being, but from the perspective of the soul, you know, like MC Hammer said, you can't touch this. You know what I mean? I'm a soul. You can't touch me. You know, you can't. Like I had somebody come on here, and they had a visitation. I think they were mantids, and the guy was really freaking out because he was seeing them. They take him to the ship. They mess with his body. And the guy says to him, the mantis says, listen, we're, we're working on your container, basically. All right. We can't touch your soul. So you don't have nothing to worry about. You know, I mean, there's things a lot bigger than this court system. There's all kinds of narratives that we can get caught up in. But ultimately, all these things are designed to keep us from choosing the last fucking thing that we ever have, which is ourselves. We're like the dog chasing its tail and finally bites it and figures out oh, this is me all the time. This was me the whole time. Like the snake eating itself, right? I mean, it's heavy stuff. And I believe that just by your will, by your soul power. You, you and people like you are affecting not hundreds of people, not thousands of people, but millions of people in the energetic field. That's where the real score is being taken. That's where that's where everything is just and fair. And that's the only place that matters. This is the surface story. This is the distortion and the duality. But this is being transformed. I've talked to too many people over the years. I can feel the story. You can see it. You've been tapped in. It's just so important, most of all, to speak your truth, which is what you're doing. I mean, literally and metaphorically, you are speaking your truth into the field. You are speaking truth. You're being truth. And and you know, my soul told me during those 2 years, you know, because that was the first time I didn't have kids in my, I didn't have a house anymore either, but I didn't have kids in the house for 23 years. For 23 years, I'd had kids in the house. It was like it was the best thing for me. It was like the greatest, you know, I love children, right? And of course I was worried about them. And so, and I was worried about what they thought of me, you know, whatever. But my soul came in and said, listen, the best thing you can do for yourself, for them, and for everybody else is to put yourself in the best possible spiritual health as possible. And even if you never see them again, they're gonna feel that, especially because they're your children, you know. So yeah, I can't even imagine um,
You know,
what you're
as
going through.
I know I will get the children back. I'm here. Here are the children, but there's still a gap in between, right? And what I also have said, yes, you are a highly advanced souls, and there are many advanced souls, but we are also here to give a helping hand to others, right? So with everything we did is also to bring everything to the surface for everyone to know, and also sharing it with other mothers with different kind of conscious level. But
Mm.
what I'm seeing right now is the important thing is that everyone comes together. It doesn't matter which kind of conscious state you have, belief system, or perception of reality, because I don't feel that this needs to continue. It needs to stop, and the whole system is rotten.
Well,
You
I mean,
need,
yeah, I mean, but
you know, oh,
which one? I mean, you want the legal system, the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, the
it,
oligarchy.
it is, it connects. The thing
It's
is,
all of it. That's what I'm saying. We're you know,
yes,
yeah. I mean, even what you're doing is affecting all of those things to be transformed as well. Everything that we're doing here, you know, we cannot divorce ourselves from anything in the universe. We can't say to the universe, I've got unity consciousness and I've got oneness, except for that bullshit over there. Okay? That's not how it works. That's not how it works. I am not an empath unless I own my narcissist. I am not a human being that's awake unless I can own every fucking bit of this realm. Every bit of it. The good guys, the bad guys, the good things, the bad things. I mean, there's children having unspeakable things done to them all the time. We know what's going on, but yet, and anyone that's had those type of memories, and I have, okay,
yes,
I'm not talking about this life
I know.
okay,
I have them
you
too.
know, exactly. I've been sodomized many times, you know, but we're souls. And there is a rhyme to the reason, and there is a faith. And it's not the bullshit blind faith of these religions. This is an innate knowing. And this human experience is something we've never done before. The universe has never seen anything like this before. And we're literally gods and goddesses in the flesh, every fucking one of us. You know, the table of spirituality doesn't have a head. It's a round table. There is no head of the table. There is nobody better than anyone else. Not the
Yes,
judge, not the police officer, not the crooks and the creeps and the corrupted politicians. And, you know, that's the crazy thing. Those
But
people that are playing that role, they actually think they're doing the right thing.
but that's the thing, it's about the children. Children are treated much lesser than criminals. No one listened to their voices and stories. And, that keeps me going.
Yeah.
In my darkest moments, I can't forget any child, any parent who is suffering. I don't want them to suffer as well. But we also came here to break this, right?
Mm,
It
mm.
should not continue, and how? You need to take action. You need to anchor, those things also in this realm as well. So,
Well,
I
you
did.
got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got
Yes,
to do.
I mean, I'm also doing, I also did a lot of kind of grit work, I'm
Mm.
also having sessions with one, all kind of sorts of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We are busy with all kind of things, and the soul a lot. Yes, I know about the um, other kind of grid system, which were inverted, with base 10 and whatever, I know about that. I know about the lines and all those kind of things, But the thing is, they are very they are almost done. The only thing that is feeding this system are the ones with the consciousness, right?
What do you
So,
mean? Yeah.
if you still
Yeah.
believe in this system,
Well,
right,
you're
you
right. So,
stepped out.
yeah.
You stepped out already. You detached yourself, so you're not feeding it, right? So you are
Yeah.
living your way.
Yeah.
But there are still ones, that's the reason why I have this role right now.
Mm.
There are still parents, halfly, partly, or fully in the system, and they can't step out. The thing is, when we ascend, we take some with us, right? But if they are still clinging to specific parts of the system, how would they ascend,
Well,
right?
here's the thing. Okay. You just mentioned as a mother. Okay. And I used to get into this when I first started Soulgy in 2012, and people would attack me or whatever. Uh, okay. A mother never gives up on their children, right? A mother will never give. You could have 12 children and one of them would be a murderer and would be in prison for life. You would go visit them. You would still love them unconditionally. Is that not true?
I don't know. I'm
That
not
our,
in that
our
situation.
well, I'm just okay. Let's just put it this way. Do you think that Mother Goddess, Father God has anything but unconditional love for the souls, for their children? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is we're already on the other side. There's an echo. There's an echo of the old. The moon's been turned off. Okay. The system's been shut down for a few years. The only thing that's still going, to your point, is the ego implant that's still tied in to the repetition and the patterning of the programming of this realm as it was formed 12 or 15,000 years ago. The physical part is playing out now, and time is dropping away, and space is dropping away, and those children are right here with you. Mine are right here with me. There is no space. Our biggest challenge is going to be getting used to the natural nature, because we're so used to like taking a step and having a couple of steps of success, and then all of a sudden a big shoe drops on your head or something unfair or unjust happens. So, these, and that's another thing too, is like, people will say, they're not listening, or we got to help them. And I'm not saying that we don't. You got to do what you got to do. But what I'm saying is their souls too. And who the fuck are you? And who the fuck are you to say that that soul doesn't have the same capacity and potential and unlimited powers of grace and love and wisdom that you have? You know, or I have. Those children are souls.
Yes.
We're plugged into the system by looking at them and thinking that they're not able to take care of themselves. I get it. I get it. We're in this transition. But at the end of the day, we are souls. And as long as we think we're anything less than that, or we're trapped in the belief that there is an everlasting impression or threat by this world, um, then we're stuck on the grid. But your soul has a purpose. My soul has a purpose. And that is our inspiration and expression of love for the universe, is to be so aligned with ourselves that we know what we're doing, but always be open to change too. Always be open to not being right. That's why I love doing this show. Because when I walk into this show, I might learn something. I might learn I was wrong about something. You know, it's it's this exchange, which can occur many other ways, that's lighting this world up. It's your exchange with the energy of the court that's lighting this world up, you know? I think it's going to get, uh, I don't think, I know, because everything I've been told, especially this year, is coming true to a T. And so the distortion's only going to get louder. It's going to get uglier. It's going to get weirder. It's going to get wilder, bloodier. And we can't get stuck on the story. But at the same time that's happening, the individuals are expanding, and that means greater skills and abilities, teleportation, bilocation. This isn't bullshit. This is telepathy above. And so they know who we are. They've always known who we are. They've always known, but they can't touch us. They have certain rules that they have to play by, and all they can do, they can't create anything. All they could do is present things in distortion. That's it. Call it the archons, call it the jinns, call it whatever you want to call it. The demiurge, whatever you want to call it. But this is all, we're all of the, everything is us. We're composed of it all, as within, without. That's why your, your inspiration, your intention, your thoughts, words, and actions, mine, that's what drives everything. That's why it was so important to loose us, right? To make us emotionally unstable and our nervous system all messed up so they could pull that energy out and use it for their own purposes. But now we're not doing that, because right here, you're saying, or that girl that was in the prison said, I can do this. It won't get me. I just pull in the aspect that could be here for the rest of my life, and boom. And you're saying, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm saying no to the system. You know, the divine neutrality is going to be put to the test. And if anyone thinks that they're awake and that they've done the work and enough work, including myself, I got news for you. Until we can be in divine neutrality and actually see every one of those bad actors with compassion, we got work to do. We're not humans, we're souls. We're divine humans. We just didn't know it. And all we got to do is say, no, I'm not participating. No. Mm-mm. I think there'll be a lot of people leaving soon. And I think it's going to get weird. Anyone has memories of Lemuria, when that's when I remember it. I remember when that distorted masculine, or whatever you want to call it, came in and killed and raped all the men and killed and impregnated all the women, and all this bullshit started. But that was the story. That was how we seeded this thing. That, it's kind of like, they call it the Kali Yuga, right? I think that's what they call it. The precession of the equinoxes, right? 26,000 years, right? So it's like you have a clock, and every second and every minute, there's a cycle, right? Every second, every minute, every 5 minutes, and then what's happened is we've gone all the way around the clock, all the way around to the final at 12 o'clock. So not only is it a cycle, but it's the cycle of all cycles coming to an end. It's bigger than all of us. It's bigger than all of us, but it is all of us. And that's why they talk about the 1,000 years of peace. We've done it. It's collapsing. Everything that we put our faith into is going to be taken away from us. I don't care if it's Trump, Putin, the Pope, light worker, label, doesn't matter. Everything will be taken away from you. That's the best thing that ever happened to me in those 2 years on the streets. Every single thing was taken away from me. Every belief system, my reputation, my freedom, fair treatment. And you know what? It was a slow crawl out. It was a slow crawl out. It took a while. And the difference now is that in this environment, in this universal energetic atmosphere that we have now created and find ourselves in, if we have divine neutrality and we take the right steps in alignment with our thoughts, words, and actions, we are getting immediate reciprocity. And it may not be what we want or what we would judge it by. Like, I would love to have my kids back, would love to have those years back, right? But energetically, where it counts, we're getting immediate results now. So I wouldn't be surprised if you have a miracle or two or five in your life very soon. You keep doing what you're doing.
The thing is, I need to keep going on with this. And, I know what you're speaking. I didn't have any contact with my children since 3 months.
Mm.
And I'm fully accepting and respecting their souls and their missions as well. But, also in the same time, I'm seeing, a lot of mothers are also coming in and parents and stepping up as well and not consenting to it anymore. Right. So what I'm doing is also, to prepare or also to share what I went through, to also to give them, it's just like an, yes, it's a good exit out of it, and it protects you. It is all lawful ways to do. But also it's quite interesting, I was not um, I I was not prepared, that you will share so much, from your side.
Well, like I said, I didn't expect it. It's just you know how that happens. You meet somebody and, what's a trigger? A trigger's an activation, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, I had just a complete different view how I would share my story,
Mm.
but it's all fine. But the thing is, I'm very
Well,
grateful that
I
it
mean,
is.
this show has never been a normal talk show. It's more of a conversation. And I've had pissed a few people off about it over the years, but you got to do what you got to do, and you be yourself, and I'm all about change, and I'm all about being open, and I'm all about questioning myself, and I'm all about cutting to the bullshit, cut the bullshit out. And what I mean by that is, we're either in victim consciousness or we're not. We're either in fear or we're not. We either believe in death or we don't. We believe, I believe I am soul. I am soul. I know I am to my bones. I know what that means, and I know who you are, and I know who everyone that we play with out here is. This is a complicated, strange world, and you can look at many people that came on this show over the years that channel or transmit or have connections to higher dimensions, um, and they will and Dolores Cannon will say the same thing. Bashar will say the same thing, that this is the toughest experience we've ever put together as souls. It's not for the faint of heart. And just as you're coming into this level of awareness and action, think about all the people. I don't like to talk about this because I know many people that got the vaccine. But think of all the people that are now vaccinated. Talk about being in the system. Okay. Think of all the people that have been vaccinated that now realize what a bunch of fuckery it was. You know, I mean, that's probably the reason a lot of the people will leave, because they won't be able to handle it. I mean, can you imagine at that level? I mean, even my parents both got it, and and then they both realized, oh my God, it's poison. um, the nanobots. I mean, we could talk about the metal in our bodies, the nanobots in our bodies, and just because you didn't get a vaccination doesn't mean you don't have them in your body, because they've been spraying aluminum on us for years. So
I know it
we're
took me a
bigger
lot
than
to
this.
get
We're
out.
bigger than GMOs, bigger than fluorides, bigger than chemtrails, bigger than the fucking archons. God bless them. Bigger than the programming. We're bigger than all of it, every bit of it. You know, we are. As long as we think we are. Because the minute we think that something's got power over us, that's why if I sit down and connect, let's just say, I'm going to recognize the darkest demons, and I've seen them. I've been right next to them. I broke bread with them, and the highest angel. Hold them in the same place in my heart. That's what Jesus taught me. 2 years on the streets. That was the biggest one there was. You know, that's still a creation of God. People talk about AI. Oh my God, AI is going to take us over. You know, AI is like everything else in the external. It's something we can engage. We can engage anything. We can engage the place that we're at. We can engage another person. We can engage a pet. We can engage anything. Anything and everything outside of us is the universe. We're just in the toughest school, apparently, that's ever been put together. And I don't know how you feel, because I sure feel, I think there's a lot of souls on this earth that are tired. And the reason they're
Yes.
tired, the reason they're tired is because it's been a long fucking time. This isn't your only life. You probably had 800 or 1,000 or 1,500 here, you know?
I know. I was sitting in the car today and I was like, oh, I'm so tired, you know. I was remembering all the times, and different kind of lifetimes where you just watched everything, And I didn't had such memories, connected with Lemuria, because Lemuria was different for I, but I remember Atlantis back then.
Mm.
And
Yeah, it was
also with
bullshit
the
too, right?
yes, but also the children were already taken there at this time as well,
That's what I mean. That's where it
That
started. That's
yes.
that's where it
But
started. Yeah,
the thing is, it should stop now. It
it
has
stopped.
to stop.
It has to. Look, nothing made from the old construct is going to survive this. So, yeah, you're right. So it's from Atlantis. You know, Atlantis was okay for a while, and
Yes,
then it,
for a
then it
while,
went all fucked
like
up. And
everything for a
it
while.
was it was it was the satanic stuff was there. Okay, it all was there. But it's all going away. It can't stand in this light. And it's not so much that, there is a separation occurring. And anyone who stays here, down here, that's a soul's choice. They're just in a different place. Like Dolores Cannon talks about how there'll be some people that you think, are they even here? Do they even have a soul? And she says that some people, some lives you choose just to do nothing. You might just be a real simple person that just goes to work every day and never gets married, or just a really boring person. But sometimes a soul needs to rest. And sometimes
Not
a
everyone
soul,
has a soul.
I mean, how do we know? How do we
It
know?
feels like you cannot connect on a soul level.
Huh? What's that?
If you cannot connect to a soul level, I also had experience, where I saw once trying to evolve through ascension, right? But every time if they reach a specific conscious state, they were resetted back. So it's just like they are not meant to come forward. It's very kind of interesting, but also, different kind of things, because honestly, I'm feeling, everyone who has the spark of God inside feel
Okay.
compassion and feel love and has a consign.
Well, uh, okay, let's take, well, I don't want to get personal. Unless okay, let's say that you have somebody who's overly empathic and you have somebody who's psychopathic and they marry. And the psychopathic is a man and he beats the hell out of the woman all the time. They had a contract, they had a soul contract. They both agreed to play these roles. Okay. My soul told me a long time ago, we all have that type of person in our life. I mentioned it earlier, but, someone that's very close to you, that's your chief antagonist, that messes with you your whole life, that is devious to you. My soul told me, who do you think agrees to play those roles? The person that you're closest to up there. The people that is your soul family come down here, and sometimes they're your enemy, or they're the ones that are your victimizer or oppressor. So some souls are going to choose to stay in the 3D, or stay in the bullshit, right? The distortion. Some souls are going to choose that, and we have to respect that. This world is a tricky world because it makes you think it's real.
Yes, I know what you mean. And I know that as well. Yes, the most loving souls have chosen this because they also take a lot of energetics while they are doing this to you as
Hmm.
well. So they
Hmm.
must love you unconditionally. But also, I'm not speaking from this, everyone has that kind of phase, during your ascension process or whatever, where you have to learn, what it means if you have a savior complex, or, to respect boundaries or whatever. I'm not saying, that I'm interfering with anything of this, I'm just saying that there are souls, they want to step out of it and they still need assistance for it. And I also came across it years ago. My higher self came in and she said, everything is prepared, everything is woven inside. And I was like, really? Because I was like, oh, what is with money? What is, with living? All those kind of things, right? And she said, is everything is prepared. So 2 years ago, when I came in touch, with divine GPMS for it was instantly, and I was instantly in alignment with it. But also, seeing about the divine laws, and for I always talk with animals since I was a child. It is so totally normal to speak with an animal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, for us, but not for everyone. But
No, I
also,
mean that's a great example because I'm living with these two cats, and that wasn't expected. I'm pet sitting and house sitting. I have always been cool with animals, but I've never heard them speak until now. But you've heard them speak your whole life, so this is another thing that's happening. All of us are pulling in these abilities. Uh, they're going to just get bigger and bigger. So I remember having a couple of lucid dreams during these years, as and their prophecy, or you could say they're collapsing timelines. Okay, so these were alternate timelines, and one of them was I had to go to court, and I was in court, and they were charging me all these different things, which were actually true in the eyes of this lawless law. So I'm in the courtroom, and it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only person, and I just levitated up to the ceiling. And they were showing me in the dream, this is who you guys are. And then another dream, they had me in prison, and I just disintegrated and bilocated somewhere else, and they caught me, and then I did it again. So those were collapse timelines. So if those were collapse timelines, imagine what we're about to step into. That's another thing my soul's been telling me too, is that the things that we worry about today, the things that we are concerned about today, the things that we do today, we're not even going to be thinking about them in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months. It's going to be a whole different ball game, you know. And it's going to be a lot of changes too.
yes, but everything is prepared and created already for humanity.
You mean you mean as in what? Like a med bed? Well, I mean,
No, not like medbed.
I don't. Yeah, I'm just no. I mean, I believe we're the med bed. Why would I need a med bed? I'm the med bed. You know, but everything
No,
prepared. Everything prepared as in what? As in the Eden, Garden of Eden, or um.
I found it very interesting, that you came up, with that dream, that you were. I first want to go into it because I really want to share my dream with you that I have, because I think a couple of days before my children were taken, I dreamt I was in a big villa, with a lot of elites and perpetrators. And I was kept inside and I started to get out, So I tried a possible way to get out. But every time when I did, I ended up as with one perpetrator, right? And I woke up and then I went back, So I went back many, many times. I did every possible option to get out of it, right? And after I don't know how many tries, I finally got out, right? But when I got out, there was some kind of dome outside, And I was like, how can I get out there? I tried to get out of my vessel. I tried to bilocate. I tried to levitate, nothing happened, right? And I was kept there, right? And 2 days after, my children were taken. So it's quite interesting, with your sharing, because you're sharing, with court, with prison where you felt like. But I also feel like, because I often have those dreams, where I'm back, in school, trying to get out of school. And for I, it's just like, when you're getting out of school, you are done with that thing, right? Because this is cool, right? The moment you get
Yeah.
out, you're out of it. And I finally got out, I think 1 or 2 nights ago, and I was so happy, I finally got out of school, because every time before it was like a maze. Every time when I tried to get to the exit, I was in a different room, right? But this time, I got finally out. And with your question, that everything is prepared, honestly, from my experience, because I know you have a different kind of perspective and reality, which I fully respect, and understand as well. Um, but I also know, if you see things, from a higher perspective, yes, everything is divinely planned. Also the taking away with my children as well. I had to undergo, huge initiation changes. In the end, I just realized that I had to fully let go of them. No contacts, no visits, right? Because if I think, I need them, or they would forget me or something like that, that are all selfish things, right? And you try to pull on them, right? So I'm just focusing on get this done, until I get them back, and not re-traumatizing them, right? So but this is also some kind of blueprint, with the divine mother, as you said, you have to fully trust and respect the soul mission and soul level as well. But the also very thing what I'm seeing here, because a lot of mothers are coming in, a lot of different kind of parents, a lot of people, start to stand up, start to realize that a lot of things are going wrong, and that is not what they want and not what they have chosen. So with everything prepared, like with divine GPMS, it is some kind of framework here, as with energetics or architecture, which are still existing here in this realm, what you cannot see, right? It is a framework, it is created for humanity just to choose. I also do know that also in the background, a lot of things are already prepared, like with the abundance, also, with the water, with nature and so on, everything, on New Earth, where we have a much higher frequency. And honestly, parts of us are already there, right? So since we are multidimensional, we are existing, on different kind of dimensions at the same time, right? And on different kind of timelines.
Yeah. I mean, to me, we're here already, you know. And if I look at your situation too, let me just say this. I can't tell you, including myself, you know, what we want isn't always what we get, obviously. And what we want isn't what we need. All right. And what I mean by that is sometimes things happen and they're unfortunate and from the human perspective. I didn't expect to be here where I'm at in the situation that I'm in after all this time and all this work and something happened. Now,
I know.
the reason I'm bringing this up is because the universe this year has put a lot of people in isolation, has demanded that these people be alone. And the reason for that is so we could go through the initiations alone. And I'm fully in believe, based on my experience and what I've received and what I've observed in others, that this is the final preparation. So this is not a mistake having this conversation to put this conversation into the etheric field that is Mother Earth, because it's as powerful as putting up a post. It's more powerful than putting up a post that gets 10 million views. Okay, it's truth, it's authenticity, it's respect, it's love, it's courage, it's wisdom. It's in the moment too. It's open. Okay, so we're being prepared because It's coming. You know, how many times over the last few years have they said the solar flare's coming? Nobody knows what the fuck's going to happen. Nobody knows. The only thing we do know is that if we fall off that trapeze wire, that high wire, we fall into mother's arms. Nobody gets hurt. A mother is not going to hurt anybody. That's just not the way it works. Yes, there's polarity. There's polarity in every dimension. The difference here is we have an inverted duality, which means that with every polarity, you had multiple timelines, and we've run them all. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that I've been in a past life. I've been a horrible person. There's a reason for that. Our experience is our code. You can tell me whatever you want. I can tell you whatever I want. But I can't teach you, and you can't teach me. The only way we learn is by experiencing it ourselves. And sometimes those things that got us to a certain level aren't going to take us any higher. And this is one of those points. So, you know, we all spent time coming to terms with our traumas, right? So we didn't have to bring the past with us anymore, right? I mean, that was a big part of our transformation was what happened to me in my childhood, or, you know, these different things. So we learned to do that. And now we have the same thing occurring with our future. We're not back there. We're not over there. We're right here, right now. And many people have been isolated for a reason, because this thing's about to pop. And I think we can see the writing on the wall. Okay, so you've already got Nepal overthrew their government. France, England had 1 million people walking in London last weekend. It's coming. It's here, and it's going to happen regardless of the protests and the military in the streets or however this goes down. It's going to happen because people are going to say, "I've had enough of this. I'm just not going to participate."
Yes, but also because a lot of people I can see and I'm connected with, I can see that every one of them is doing something in the background and taking action and changing reality as well. You know, we are all doing this together, right?
Hmm?
Everyone
Yeah.
in our way. So, but
Everyone on both sides of the line. Because
yes, but
if those people weren't, let's just say, if the bad actors weren't doing what they're doing, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You can't have one without the other. So, you know, and you got to remember too, the people that are on the other side over there, they think they're right, and we think we're right. Well, who's right?
But that's
You
the
know?
beautiful thing right now. You know, it means like, we respect everyone's perspective and belief system, and we are coming together without separation or judging, right? Is this
Are we?
not,
Are we? Are we?
I think so. I
I
think
mean,
so.
I mean, I do my best, and I know you're not talking about me, but I'm just saying, all of us, whoever we is, I still have frequencies of separation and division and judgment and bias and prejudice and narcissism and superiority and inferiority. I mean, it's the truth. I'm not going to lie about it. And, you know, we can do all we want in the world, but if we're not changing inside, if we're not growing inside, if we're not learning something, if we're stagnant inside, we're just bullshitting ourselves. Okay. You know, part of what's fallen in the old world is the wounded healer archetype. We want to go help people, help people, help people, help people, so we'll feel better about ourselves. Now, this is not what you're doing. I'm not saying
I
that, but what I'm,
know that is the distorted way, and when you
no,
think your reality is better and you need to help because you don't trust that soul. But I have to share, I normally more connect with ones, whom I feel resonating. But during this time, I had to show myself, I had to share my story with everyone, right? I had to ask, for help, which also helps me to get more into my feminine side. But I had different kind of conscious there, and it was beautiful that no matter if they are accepting or respecting my belief system, they were still here and they were helping and assisting, right? Everyone came together and assisted and helped. But also, the most important thing about the children, everyone would help. Everyone would jump in and change it, right? It must be. But yes.
Well, you would think so. I mean, but how does any of this? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like the narratives, you know, timelines. There's only one timeline. Let's go there. Like we're all headed to the same place. Now, we we might think we know what that looks like, and we might, like even the thing about the Earth splitting. What is that going to look like? It's already happening. You said, some parts of us are already there, or yeah, there is a real divide in consciousness, and there's power in our manifestation abilities. That's how and why this system's set up the way it is, so it could steal our energy, right? The Earth is just a bigger version of me and you. So if you and me have been siphoned, our energy's been siphoned, and all of our brothers and sisters, but into to greater degrees, but lesser degrees as we wake up more and choose our own power. Then the Earth is a reflection of that. She's gone through the same thing, but she's also transforming and coming in full flow. And that's why I was kind of didn't understand what you were saying about everything's already prepared in there. Of course it is. Of course it is. If we are coming into our higher sensitivity, skills, and abilities, then so is she. And if we can instantly heal, so can she, right? You know, but it's kind of at this. It's kind of like she's there, we're there, but it's kind of like a mother bird when the little birds get to enough size and she kicks them out of the nest, right? We have to fly now, and you know, Mother Earth is a consciousness. It's our parent. It's the mother in the
The
physicality.
sacred mother, yes.
Yeah. And so, you know, she's bigger than all of them. She's bigger than any system. Bigger. This isn't our first rodeo. People talk about Lemuria. They talk about Atlantis. They talk about, Elysium, the Lion Kingdom. But there's been hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of civilizations on this earth. And this is the big, the big ending. I think what happened was we got toward the end, and we said, hey, why don't we really turn it up? Why don't we really make it hot? Why don't we really make it distorted and inverted so we can get the most out of this before it ends? I believe that's what we did, and I know just from like souls that have left here, and I can't say this for myself, but I know like my friend Franco, and most people know him, probably the most credible person I've ever met, certainly the most connected, had full memory of many planetary incarnations, and also was part of the architectural team that created this realm, or this quadrant of the realm. But one of the things that he used to do was when suicide people would suicide and they would cross over, he would meet them, right? And brief them or whatever. And he would say, and I've heard other people say this too, that have met souls coming out of Earth. All right, the suicides would tell him, "Man, that was awesome. I want to go back." Other people will tell you that there are literally 40, 50 billion souls lined up to come to Earth.
I know.
See,
I know. Not
so
everyone is allowed to incarnate. I know that
yeah,
as well.
I mean,
Yes.
we're talking about uh, bringing in a dimensional shift, and the things that we talk about today, forgiveness won't even be real. Uh, Trust won't even be a word because there is no distrust. Uh, Sacrifice, suffering, pain, uh, these things won't, earth love, these things won't even be in our money, won't even be here. You know, it's already happening. I live in this little bitty town, and half the people just trade things. You know,
Amazing.
yeah. And there's spots all over the world like this. There has to be. I was taking a walk the other night. And I thought, you know what? I didn't want to be here, by the way. It just happened. And then I was here by myself, you know. But I walk outside and I see 15 dogs running on this muddy street with no collars or leashes, and they're all cool. I don't hear people arguing anywhere. Never have. You know what's crazy? People, Westerners will come over here and they'll say, God, these streets are dirty because everybody puts their trash on the corner and it blows away. But you know, when the trash men come by, they do a pretty good job of picking it up, and everybody sweeps in front of their house and they sweep the street. And you know what the craziest thing is? Yeah, you see some trash, you know. Sometimes it rains a lot, sometimes there's a lot of wind. Do you know that I've never seen broken glass? Not once. So that means if they break a bottle, they must clean it up. Now this is old school over here, you know, but there's got to be places like this all over the world. There has to be, and there has to be a reason you're there and I'm here. But this thing about, you know, I love doing these shows because I learn and I get to meet beautiful people like you know, that move me and shock me like you did.
Oh, I
Make
shocked
me,
you,
make,
right?
yeah, I started crying. I started crying. I was shaking. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? How am I going to do this show? But I really believe, like, I always try to look for a takeaway. And, you know, I've learned a few things and I want to thank you for that. Um, but I really feel like that I'm alone and you're alone. And many of us are alone right now. And there's a divine purpose. And we're not going to, we've got this thing. We're still
I know.
throwing a little bit of the threads off of us, but we're alone for a reason because we're about to be put to the test. And I believe that we can say whatever, but I think the main thing is it's all energy, and we're like a tuning fork or a sound bowl, you know, and our job is to work on us, is to keep us in the best possible spiritual health. Um, that's our signal. We're columns of light because there's going to be a lot of people freaking out. There's going to be a lot of people freaking out. It won't last very long. And the reason it won't last very long is because these pillars that have been put all over the world and put in isolation are going to be shining because there's going to be more communication between us. It's going to be it's telepathic. There's going to be, you know, who knows? By the end of the year, maybe in January, the next time we get together, I'll just say, you know, we'll be sitting like this, and I'll say, no, hey, let me just come over there, and we're both in front of the camera because I teleported over there, you know.
Yes, waving inside.
But do you believe that we're going to teleport? Do you believe that we're going to bilocate here in this realm? Do you believe?
I mean, bilocating is yes, I
Well,
I
not by.
already
I'm
do
just saying. Let's
bilocate.
just say teleporting. Okay, just say teleporting.
I mean, I
You
remember back then in Lemuria it was possible, and it is
yes.
possible. My children still waits until it is activated again. again.
I remember that too. I was talking to someone about that the other day. I remember we would have our bodies, we could leave them, and then we could come back in
Levitated
our
teleport.
bodies. Yeah, well. So
Yes,
if
I
that
remember.
so if that's coming online, then think about, because everything's a parallel, you know, they're all multiple streams, right? So there's one of physical and emotional and mental and spiritual and etherical, and you know, there's all these. So imagine if that is raising, then everything else is raising too. That's what I mean. We're taking it, you know, we're stepping into this new dimension. It's just a weird scenario because that lower dimension will continue to exist. It's part of the universal, you know. And
For
some
some,
people will, and you know, some people, I don't know how it works, but I know we have a choice, and we knew what we got into because I remember the mother telling me that straight up. You guys knew what you were getting into, but you didn't know. So you kind of knew, but you didn't
oh
know.
yes.
All right.
You know, do you have that sometimes? You're just sitting here, and during that time, I was like, do I really signed up for this? I can't remember.
No.
It's just like when you're in that higher realm. everything is like, oh yes, I will do that, but when you're back and feeling everything and the density, you were like, did I
Yeah,
really sign up for that?
yeah. F this stuff, right? You were talking about dreams. I have really, really intense lucid dreams, right? And it was two nights ago. I had 2 days in a row where I woke up and I was just we must have been busy out, in dream state because I was depleted. But the second night I had a series of dreams, and a lot of the dreams I've been having in recent this summer have been a bunch of us getting together in like a complex or a ship. We're all dressed in white and we're like getting ready for our coming out. Almost like, we've been training all our lives to do a performance. And none of us were nervous and we were ready, right? But anyway, last night or the night before, the dream started the dream started with that. And it was this the scenario was there, and all of a sudden, because I don't get emotional in dreams. I don't tend to, at this point. And I just started screaming, you tricked us. I didn't agree to this. I didn't agree to this. I didn't agree to this. And other people were like, I don't agree with this either. Y'all tricked us. You lied. And then it went through the evolution, like of the last 12,000 years. And it was just wars and death and, all that stuff. And then at the end, I just saw these two hands just came towards me like that. And they were crystals, all, like they were in the palms of the hand. And that was the end of it. So I think that's another thing that's happened is our dream state is starting to connect to our awake state. We're starting to be more conscious of it because I can't tell you how many people, I don't know about you, but like just this summer, how many people have told me, you're in my dream last night, you're in my dream last night, or I'll tell them. So it's a crazy ride though.
Yes, I remember a couple of weeks ago when I was dreaming or sleeping, I felt like I just hit the wall. Then I woke up, I was like, what's going on? I think I just hit something, while I was sleeping, right? And I was up and I was like, oh, that's so weird. I think it was something around 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. I was like, everything seems so colorless, and I just went out, and I had to smoke, I felt like, it was so silent. I felt like in a void,
Mm-hmm.
and still, in that waiting space. But I never had this that I was hitting something while I was sleeping, right? So that was quite funny as well, right? And then afterwards I went to sleep again. But yes, there are several interesting things, and I also have often, dreams, with other soul families who are very close to I.
Mm-hmm.
I also had once, because you said space and time, it's quite interesting. I have a very strong connection with a soul sister in Ireland, and I was sitting outside and I was talking with her, and a bird passed, and I was looking at the bird, and it just passed my way. But in the same moment, I talked with her, and she was like, "What's going on? I have bird shit on my shoe." And she
Well,
was
there you
like,
go.
there was no bird around, And I said, oh, well, I had just a bird passing and I was curious why it was so close, right? So it was quite funny, because it
That is
flew over
funny.
me, but it
But
shit on her shoes, right?
it is real though. But you said something else too, like and this has happened to me about 4 or 5 times this summer, very recently too. And I'll go outside and it's not colorless, but it's like soundless.
Mm.
Like I walk outside and yeah, there's a car over here and there's a horse over there, and but I can't hear anything. It's the weirdest thing. It's like and it's not really a soundless. It's more of like I would say like a. I've often thought that as we continue, because I've had experiences where it feels dreamlike, right? Like the atmosphere in a dream feels different. Like if you're running, you're kind of like running in plasma, and like things just feel differently. It's kind of like that, but it's weird. It's like it kind of reminds me of that. That have you ever seen the Truman Show with Jim Carrey?
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of that. It's like I walk out there and go, man, there's something weird here. Like somebody forgot to turn on the tones or you know whatever they do to make them. I don't know. It's just like wow, I'm looking around, but I don't know. I guess because I see even like the stars to me that it's an overlay. It's a map. It's a guide. You know, but everything's a guide. Everything now, especially that's another thing I think that's happening to people. They're talking less about somebody else and they're looking more at themselves. And that's what the universe is doing now. The universe is handing out big fat pieces of humble pie, you know, because humiliation and uh, humility, there's they're kind of linked together. You know, being embarrassed, being scared, um, being ashamed, getting past all of that brings us humility. Humility is brought to us when we have to eat our words, when we have to say, I was wrong, when we have to say, oh, I thought I knew this and I thought I knew that. You know, humility is to me like the key indicator of how am I doing, you know? I mean, it's kind of hard to judge your own humility, but you can feel it. You know, you can feel the humbleness, you know, the grace of it. But I think that what's happening is the universe is putting a big mirror in front of our faces, no matter who we are or who we think we are. And because that's a big job, now I don't know about you, I'm a full time job, so I don't have time to be getting out of my lane and sticking my nose in, you know what I mean? I have to be with my purposes, the things that align with me, like you, and just keep going, man. You know, I mean, I'd love to have a bunch of money in the bank account. You know, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and it's not, you know, I mean, that's another thing that's happening too. You mentioned the 9 to 5, and not you can't go back and all that, and but it's so crazy. I know people, these people that are isolated all over the world, all of a sudden, they don't have a traditional job. Somehow or another, they make it.
I
Somehow or
know.
another, you know what I mean? So come on, it's about time you know, stop kicking the horse and start saying, "Hey, look what we've done. Look what we're doing. Give ourselves some credit. Give each other credit." You know? Yeah, those people might be on a different timeline than me, but you know what? They showed up. We're all valiant souls. We're the darlings of the universe. They can't believe how far we've come and how fast we've done it, and they're on the edge of their seat trying to figure out how far we're going to take it before the cycle's over.
That's the thing, and I'm not gonna stop, because I'm constantly getting the divine instructions to move on, right? And yes, I do know what you're talking about. I had, there are phases, you get that instruction where you have to sever all the ties, where you had to sit with yourself and to reflect with all the things, right? That's, that's a lot of work as well, yes. And I'm also not in a classical job since years anymore, right? But I'm busy all the time with all the kind of things that are coming in, so you have a different kind of sleep rhythm, or how you eat or anything, you're doing everything, intuitively how you should do it, right? So as you have stepped out and went through all those kind of things, so you got prepared, to stand in midst of the storm, right? Calm, being that light pillar, I have to do, and I have to follow those things as well,
Yeah.
and to prepare the path, as I'm not, I, I didn't choose that. I was
What?
like, I would prefer, to chill, in
Oh,
my
I know.
comfort
Hey,
zone.
I get
But
you.
in your comfort zone, there's no growth.
Yeah.
So what you are also seeing, there's a lot of pressure put, onto everyone, so they have to move, they have to make the right choice.
Yeah.
It's just like in the movie. I think there was a movie with Keanu Reeves, the day when the world stands still or something, when humanity starts to make a decision, but on the edge, right? And mostly you can see ones making decisions if they reach a specific edge or a point, right, where they need to do something, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't left the comfort zone. Why would they,
Right.
right? So it's the same with her, you know. I was like, every time before, I was like in fear. I cannot stand up. They would take my children, but then I had to do that, you know, knowingly they would take the children, right? And now I can fully go in and do everything because I have nothing to lose. I can go face on face, you know, I can do that, right? And, you know, divinely, I have everything I need, right? I don't need much, right? And everything I'm asking for, I get it instantly.
Exactly.
Everything in regards with the children, a block until I'm finished with what I have to
But
do.
again, that's what I was saying earlier. But again, that from a human perspective, this is what we want and this is what we need, but it's not. See? So you know what I mean? So like look, and this is hilarious. And you know what the thing here's the thing. Look, you mentioned about waking up and then going through many dark nights of the souls, and I know everybody can relate to that. But that's really it. Like what you're going through right now, and I feel for you, you know? You're being that pillar for yourself first. Like you can't give that to someone else if you don't have it for yourself. So you're doing it for yourself. You're staying calm and cool and collected in the middle of the shitstorm, right? And I really feel like that's what we'll be doing for the world. That we're going to go through this period where, you know, you talk about being able to go into the courtroom and, you know, you're on your game. You know, you're not in fear. You're not, you know, and I believe that's the light or that's the energy that we'll be prepared to hold because we've been through it. I mean, I could tell you so many crazy stories, you know. And the other, that's why I love like that girl that I was telling you about from Poland. She was laughing, and it only happened to her 2 months ago. You're laughing. You know, I had a Sology Fest in 2022 and on a mountain. Okay. And I went early and I went like on Monday and it started on Friday. And I go to pick up my friend, the one that we were talking about at the airport, right? At 11:30 at night. Okay. In Arkansas. Okay. I get pulled over by a cop. Now I haven't had problems with the police in a few years. And I had a warrant for a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor, okay? Uh,
What's that?
a misdemeanor is an offense where it's not a felony. It's not serious, okay?
Oh, all right.
And it came from the same time. It came from 6.5 years earlier when I had some problems. And what had happened was well, my family had gotten this person to go in and file a written report that I had hit them. And it wasn't true. And not only that, but the girl rescinded it a week later. She told him that wasn't true. A week later, right? I didn't know that till later. So I go to pick up my friend at the airport and I get pulled over at the last exit and by this cop. And he sits in his car for about 30 minutes and calls another cop and I can tell they're having a conversation. I'm like, what is going on? You know? Well, there was a warrant out for me 6.5 years old for a misdemeanor, which is just basically, like I said, the the reason they put the warrant out is because I left town. I guess they went to go try to get me to my side of the story, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, talk about justice, talk about unfairness. Now, okay, so he gets me out of the car and says, you know, you're going to jail. You know, and I'm 60 at the 61 years old at the time, right? I'm like, for what? For this misdemeanor, you have a complaint in Houston, Texas. And there was some kind of arrangement between the two states. Anyway, I don't know. So, but it's the universe, right? It wasn't the system, it was the universe. And so what happened was I ended up having to sleep on the floor in a jail with about 30 men, okay, for 7 days. Okay. Then they call my name and they say, "Oh, Mr. Todd Medina," and I think, "Oh, I'm getting out finally. This bullshit's over." Because I had written the district attorney and the girl that accused me. She'd written them an email too and said he didn't do this. They put me up to it. Blah blah blah. So they call me out, and I think I'm getting out now. And I go into the main part of the jail, and there's these two bounty hunters waiting for me. Okay. They put handcuffs on me. They put this thing around your chest, and you look like a praying mantis. Okay, you have so I have leg shackles, I have my arm shackles, and now I'm in the back seat of a Suburban and drive for 7 hours to Houston, Texas, so they can drop me off at the jail. This is when Jesus came. Okay, and I'm in this giant facility with all these people, all the degenerates of the world. Okay, from the from the system's eyes, all the poor people, all the addicts, all the whores and the prostitutes and the pimps. If you want to, what the hell is that? So so I'm in there for uh 30 hours. There's no jail cells. It's just this big thing. I sit down, I look at the TV right when I get there, and they're doing a news report on the jail because it's overcrowded. They had 1,400 people in a space for 300 people. And I was there. And so that's when he came in. He started saying that you're witnessing because they never allow a camera in this place. He was showing me this is what happens. Once it comes into your awareness, then it starts to change now. It used to be it comes into your awareness, then you have to kind of go to work and figure things out, and then it changes. He was saying now, as things come into awareness in people, then that change will occur instantly. So what you're doing is that. That's part of what you're doing. You're bringing it into the awareness of other mothers and other people, and because it's not right, because it doesn't align, and because we have reached this point, it will change instantaneously, but it's not yet physically instant, but it's getting closer and closer and closer. But anyway, that's kind of a funny story. Then I go before and here's the worst part. I just happen to have money because I'm doing this festival. And I didn't want to mess with the court system, even though I knew it was a slam dunk case. And I had the girl's email, I had other witnesses. So I said, I'm not taking any chances. I've already been fucked by the system before. So I called this friend of mine, and she knew a lawyer, and I paid him $2,500, and I never went to court. I never had to go to court because it was an open and shut case. And the DA said, "Oh, this was a mistake. We don't know why it happened." And what had happened was I pissed off a police officer back then, and he filed this thing against me because I called him out. He broke into my house. It's a long story. I had so many stories I could tell you, but so I understand the system, but it doesn't have shit on us. And what you're doing is is the best thing you could do because you're bringing to light um, the reality that people have had cognitive dissonance of, and and that's powerful. That's worth 10 million views. That's beyond that. What's Abraham Hicks says that one soul illuminated uh, neutralizes 750,000 that are not. You know.
Thank you so much. But, as I just realized today is, like you and all others have prepared the way. So I can walk this as well, much more
Well, you're
easier.
prepared. You're preparing the
Yes,
way. You prepared.
yes.
You did something to me. I mean, you had me crying in 3 minutes.
But I'm so grateful, for my close soul family who have always kept me on a specific consciousness so I wouldn't drop. But also, Rick was there all the time, and we went through that very yucky law stuff, and we had to learn a lot, how that was created, to break it. And he has a lot of expertise, in regards to this.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that at the beginning either, and I didn't plan, to get into it, to start to write things. Because, in the very moment you start to write things, you're also affecting reality,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's why you and I could be sitting in this room with nobody watching, and because of it, and it would have as much of an effect on the new grid as it is right now. You know, this is just the literal part. This is just for the human part. But yeah, I mean that's a really deep thing too. I mean, you've got the UCC, you got the maritime law, everything based on maritime law. There was a reason for that. Okay, there's a reason, uh, you know, that it was set up that way. You have the land law of the land, then you have the maritime law, and that was a that's just like the Social Security cards and the birth certificates. You know, the all that stuff was threaded into, and this all just occurred in the last 115 years. Okay. I mean, the
Yes.
groundwork was set, but I mean, everything kind of took off from there. But again, it wasn't the first time that they've pulled this fuckery. I mean, it wasn't. It was, but you know, do you, let me ask you this. Do you feel that the system, so to speak, whatever you want to call it, the big bad wolf, whatever, is losing ground?
Yes.
Of course they are. See,
Yes.
yeah, it's like it's over. It's over. You know what I mean? It's over. It's just a matter of playing out now, and we have to, you know, the other thing that you bring up, which I think is really important through your presence, through your story, is we we are multidimensional, and it has come down to the human being, the mundane human being. When you consider the multidimensional part of it, we're like the redheaded stepchild. You know, we're like the low one on the totem pole. That's been our journey, but we're coming into our power now, and we're soon finding out that everything that we do affects all of our aspects. So we're not just, let's say you and I, we're not just bringing to neutrality or to justice or to the 0 point the legal system. We're bringing together the Anunnaki and Pleiadian rift. We're bringing together the Orion and Sirius rift. We're bringing together all the separations in all of our lifetimes. And it's so strange and ironic to me and beautiful that it's come down to the human being part of us, you know? So everything that we do, every thought we have, every word, every action that we take, every encounter that we have, when we go down in the convenience store and our exchange with the clerk or somebody walking by, I mean, eh, buenos noches, I mean, like, we're affecting it all now. It's all coming back to the best. And it's never, you can't, you can't experience the highs unless you experience the lows. You can only go, if I go 100 degrees into the depths of the darkness, I can go 100 degrees in the light. If I go 50, I can only go 50. I'm not going to be allowed to, you can't miss a step. The universal, you were talking about, what is it? Natural law, divine law, and all that. But there's only one law. There's only one law. And that is what goes around comes around. Whatever we put out comes back to us. And we may not be able to see it. And in this life, it doesn't make a lot of sense because you treat people nice and they screw you or whatever. But that's the truth. And this is what we're unifying is through conscious thoughts, words, and actions now.
We
And
are reversing it, and flipping it.
yeah, we
That
are.
thing.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the reason that, because I always go, why is it only going to be 1,000 years of peace? Because I intend to live, I know I'm going to live 800 plus years. I know that. I've known that for a long time. But I always say, well, why is it only going to be 1,000 years of peace? Well, I'll tell you why. You want to know why? Because we get bored. We get bored. Everything's so perfect. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I've said, this is my last time, I'm done with it. I have watched this, over and over again, with humanity. Yes, I had sometimes times, where I was, saying to Father, I don't know, I cannot do that anymore. Because you remember, right? You remember everything. You remember, back then there are different kind of timelines where you have already that ability, and you saw the end, and you were talking to others, none of them were listening to you, and you were sitting here, and you just watched it happens, right?
Yeah.
So, but also, during your phase, what you went through, I completely feel you. I know what you're talking about. When I went through that, I really had a hard time to not take it personal, right?
Mhm.
Because it was quite intense, everything which came back, and you always do the right thing, you don't harm anyone, right? But that is the thing, to detach yourself from this and not taking it personal, right?
Yeah.
And just as you said with that story, with that girl as well. So yes, so I listened to you, and I was listening, and it's very nice, and I would also want to say thank you so much for your kind words. I missed that because I was keep on listening to you, and you didn't stop, so it is quite nice. But also, what I wanted to add before, because you said, sometimes you will not get that what you ask for or what you are expecting to get. The thing is, I was laughing because I remember years ago, I was sitting here and I said, I love to travel, right? I really love, to be in other places and everything. And I was like, I always had money, I was able to travel. And then at a specific moment, I was like, stop, you need to stay here. And I was like, oh, do I really need to stay here? I really want, something else. I want to be free. I want this and that. And I asked for it, but I didn't know it comes like this, right? Because I remember the last time when the children were separated, they were traumatized, they were crying. And I looked at them and I said, don't forget, no matter what you're doing, trust in a divinity. And I will always fight for the truth. No matter what, the divine will always win. And I will never stop until the truth is coming to the surface, right? At this point, I only thought, about, the stuff, with the ex-partner, right? But I didn't know how huge that was, But the thing is, I asked for it, and now I'm going through it, whatever it is. We never expect it that way. But, every time when you're at a specific point, you just realize, the whole setting, your whole lifetime, the whole composition, of energetics you are having with the abilities is all tied in, to the specific moment you have to went through or, do specific things, right? So
Mhm.
everything I got, my abilities, with programming things, writing things, everything is used right now, right? And the way that I'm easily analyze, patterns or something like that. So it's quite interesting, just to
Mm.
see it comes together, to an end. And I know we are very close, as you said. We can
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
We feel it. But
Yeah.
as you said, the physical and also, others to step up. So
Yeah.
that's
The
what I'm
physical.
feeling.
Yeah. No, I get it. I really believe what's going to happen is, see, the whole thing too is, I was like, why can't you tell me more? Why, like we're talking to him, like, it's like, why can't you tell me more? Just show me a little bit more. And my soul always comes back because my soul's me. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
fucker, if we told you any more, you'd figure it out and would take the whole thing, it would blow the whole game up, you know? But I think what's going to happen is as we get closer to it and we have more awareness and how it works, we're going to be like, oh, no, no, man, slow it down, slow the train down. We don't want to end it yet, you know? Like, because we're going to be flipped and we're going to see it. Look, when I first reawoke, I had, I had an experience and I was in my courtyard. I lived in a townhouse and I was in the courtyard and it was 1:11 in the morning. And I know that because my wife at the time texted me, "Are you coming to bed?" Right? And so I look up in the tree. I look up and there's these big trees in a cemetery next to my house. There's a fence and then there's all these trees, a big cemetery. And I see this big ball of light coming at me, right? It looked like a star, I'm like, what in the hell is that? And then it formed the face of the Christ, okay? Cosmic Christ, like teeth, the beard, the eyes, everything. And I looked at it, he said to me, I said to him, "What's going on?" No, no. And he said to me, no, I didn't talk. I didn't talk first. He said to me, I don't know what you're so worried about. I've been watching over your family for two and a half years. And 2.5 years earlier, my wife at the time had taken a bottle of Tylenol PM and just swallowed them. Okay, died in my arms, came back, and that's a whole other story. So he tells me, I've been watching over you for 2.5 years. And I said, and like a wave of plasma, like peace and love. If you ever had an out of body experience, it's like that feeling, right? And I was like, oh, okay, wow. And then I look back up and he was grinning and now he's laughing at me. Not at making fun of me, but like a parent laughs at a child that's taking something too seriously, you
Oh,
know?
he does this very
See,
often.
that
Yeah.
so that's what I feel like that's gonna happen to us. We're going to we're going to be laugh we're going to laugh, but it's going to be out of reverence, you know. And so like in that story, he says to me, uh, I said, "What's up with that? And why are you laughing at me?" He says, "Well, you're the one of the unshakable faith. We're going to find out tomorrow because your whole world's going to flip upside down." And that was it. But my point is that the way he was laughing at me, which was probably my higher self, or what is that? The you, me, we, and it. It's it is what it is. Um, that yeah, and that's what I would hear on the streets too. You know, when I started walking, I would hear, dude, this isn't even real, man. Like, but at the
Yes.
same time, the universe doesn't do anything without a purpose. It's not just there's always an opportunity, a potential, you know. And and a lot of people went through these things, not the same stories, but I mean, we all went through the dark nights of the soul, and I believe that we're prepared. And I think a lot of us have been isolated recently, like I was saying. So, you know, it's game on. Like, how do you talk to somebody for 2.5 hours and it seems like it's been 15 minutes? Only because there's soul recognition. I guarantee it. I know you.
I know you as well.
I know.
So I know the effects as well. And I know your energy composition as well. So it also already, when I first encountered you and I was divinely instructed to send you a message. Um, I came already in touch with your energetic, so it started, to um, activate and to trigger more of things. What I need to say, because normally, I have shared my story a lot, about the children, but I never shared, that part of me that are speaking, about energetic thing, or with father coming in, or making jokes, all those kind of things, right? So
It makes it more fun to me.
I mean, honestly, when, I can see with my third eye, yes, I cannot see with my eyes, but, it's all the time. If you meet Merlin or something like that, he's
Oh yeah.
looking at you. Are you serious? Why are you serious?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's all the time. I remember when I was in pain, I was laying in bed, I was crying, but I saw all the beings around my
Yeah.
bed, right?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes. I
just
know
like
it,
a
right?
cosmic joke. You
Okay.
are
So
crying, you are transmuting it in pain, and they are all watching you, like, sitting there and eating popcorn, watching
that's
the
what
show.
I always tell them. I'll be like, you know what? I'm the fucking boots on the ground. My voice will be heard. Our sovereignty isn't just with this world. It's with all of our aspects too. You know, like Mother Mary stood in front of me one time and she said, she took me through this whole week of initiation and she says to me, now you're done. Now, if it comes down to it, who are you going to trust, me or you? And I said, me. She said, right answer, you know? Or I'll give you another one. Merlin. You mentioned Merlin. Merlin's
It's so
been,
funny.
yeah, he's hilarious. Merlin's been in my life since 2016, right? And one time, I call it the shamanic teaching approach. So the shamanic teaching approach is like Buddha would say. You would sit with Buddha. Buddha would tell you everything he knew, and then he'd say, "Okay, I'm done. Now I want you to forget everything I said." You know, or the shamanic way might be, you're sitting with this angel and you're talking to the shaman takes the form of an angel, And then you look up and all of a sudden it turns into a demon just to mess with you, right? Just so you will choose yourself, kind of thing. So he did that to me. Like I would hang out with him, and then one day I walk into his little laboratory, like this cave thing, right? And he looks at me all weird and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Oh, I'm just keeping you on your toes, man. Like he was looking at me like he wanted to like kiss me or something, like, like sexually. I'm like, well, dude, what are you doing? But that's what they do. That's why, as soon as we think we got it figured out, the rug gets pulled out from under us. But this has been our story. The human, the thing, you know, if you think about yourself and if you think about humanity's view of itself, it's the same thing. We haven't, before your awakening, before my awakening, we might have been good people. We were loving, but how did we feel about ourselves? Well, we didn't love ourselves. We weren't good enough. Okay. And anyone that's still in this body, I don't give a damn who you are because I don't see anybody walking on water. Do you? But we still got work to do. This is the purpose. The purpose is to continue to discover the universe. And every time we go up, every time we expand, has a simultaneous effect with our perception of what's out there, you know? And we soften up, we become less judgmental, you know. And that's another thing my soul tells me a lot this summer. My soul is a MF sometimes. It's like, if you know it, why do you have to say it? Because if you know it, you don't even have to say it because your energy will speak for itself. I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? I talk this is my work. But I get it, what it's being said. We're losing the pretense. We're losing the mask. We're losing expectations. We're losing our former purposes, or at least if we're gonna have the same purpose, kind of like I'm having now, but it won't be the same. It's different now. It's flowing different. It's organic. It's unfolding naturally. Nothing needs to be forced. There is no, there's no rallying the troops. That's a force. You see that in the news right now with the things that have happened recently. We don't have to do that. We're like a tuning fork. We're like a beacon of light, a column, and we will be seen. And we have been seen. We just couldn't see that we were seen. Like you said, I can't see it with my two eyes, but I can see it with my third eye. So it's been a
Yeah.
nice exchange. I'd like to do this again sometime if you want to.
Yes, I'm very, very grateful that you shared that story. I think that was really on time, and um, yes, it was a very nice chat. Not what I
I love it.
expect.
I'm not into the
Previously.
regular. I'm not into the regular podcast. People, well, they don't get mad at me so much anymore, but just, I always feel like let's just, it's like we're having a cup of coffee and having a cig and just getting to know each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it just happens to be in front of a bunch of people, but that's just the human part. I mean, it's the energetic transmission where two or more gather because now there's a third energy, and that third energy is what it's all about now. I call it Soulogy, but you can call it the Holy Spirit, call it whatever you want. The golden child. But the third, see, that's the difference now in 2025. The third energy is not fucking around anymore. It's like, no, no, we're straightening. It's like mama's home. We're straightening this shit up now. Okay. And it starts with you. And there's the mirror. Oh, but what about that person? What about no? It starts with you. That's got nothing to do with them. What that is a message for you. You got to figure it out. Well, I'm going to bring the truth out. So that's you figure that out. Or that person is an asshole. Uh, okay. Well, what are you? Where are you one that you don't see it? You know what I mean? I mean, so the mirror's being put in our face for a reason this summer, and I really feel like that we're in for a hell of a ride the next few months, I think. I feel like.
Yes, but that's why we are prepared, to stay that neutral and
Yeah.
calm,
Yeah.
right? And also to be ourselves, because love doesn't always mean, to help and assist everyone. Sometimes it also means, just to let go, just trust,
Yeah,
trust everything.
that's
So,
right.
as you said, I'm also sitting here. I'm just going with the divine guidance, right? If I have to move, I move. Sometimes,
Yeah.
I'm just literally knocked out, and I had
I'm the
to
same.
lay down and transmute, right? It's so heavy sometimes, and sometimes
I'm
you're
with
just
you.
up at night, right?
Yeah, I'm, it's crazy. I slept, I got up to feed the cats in the morning. This was 2 days ago. I slept 12 hours. If you take, I mean, I was up for 15 minutes and then it came back, but 12 hours, like that's crazy. And the night before, I couldn't go to bed till 4:30. I woke up at 7:30 and I had 3 shows. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Or I'll just, I won't be able to get out of the bed. All I can do is just lay down and look at the ceiling for like 4 hours. I'm like, you know, so yeah, there's a lot of evidence. It's showing up. You're a beautiful,
Yes.
you're, you're a beautiful soul, beautiful, beautiful reflection. And I'm grateful for this exchange. And I just can say, blessings of peace, love, and grace for you and for your children and all the players in your space, and for your passion and your work and your endeavors.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for everything that you are doing, soul to soul.
Mm,
And also, with your authentic self and also opening this space and your heart for I.
mm,
Amazing. And I'm very, very grateful. I enjoyed it a lot. It
mm.
was quite nice, that kind of roller coaster,
Well, it's
but
colorful.
very real. I love that.
Uh, and I love your laugh. That's the thing is, the, yeah, I didn't laugh for 10 years until I woke up in 2011. I didn't laugh for 10 years. I didn't realize I hadn't laughed. And I laugh all the time. I love laughing. Laughing is the great, to me, that's the greatest wisdom, when you can
The
laugh at
great
it.
energy and frequency.
Yeah, it is. Well, you take care. I'm sorry for keeping you up late. I know it's late over there. And God, 2.5 hours. Wow. That's been the longest show I've done in a while. But
Oh, I'm very up very quite long because I can work at night the best
oh, yeah,
because there are no distortions. It's I don't know,
true,
it's the way it
true.
is.
Yeah.
So thank you so so much and for your time. And yes, I would love to continue it sometime.
I'll hit you up. I'll put it in my notes. I'll hit you up in 2 or 3 months. We'll do it again. Yeah, let's
But
see
then
what
I'm having
happened.
children back.
That'll be good. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's maybe like, yeah, let's see what happens in December or what's going on in December. I'm going to be on the move next month and yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be
Yes, it is.
exciting. You take care. Thank you so much.
Thank
Tell
you.
tell Merlin I said hello. Bye-bye.
You can tell him that as well.
I will.